It's the Terrible at Fishing radio show on Gold Country Radio. Here's your fishing expert and host, Michael Raffino.
Welcome back to Terrible at Fishing, everybody. Well, I finally got out to Lake of the Woods this week. If you go to my YouTube channel, you'll actually see the trip. And a buddy of mine actually came with his trailer, so we put my boat in his trailer, and he took us up there. And us being him, his son, and me. And his son, Carr, actually was in my boat with me. Carr just graduated high school, so I went to his graduation ceremony, or his party. And Carr did one of the most important things when it comes to fishing a bait, and that's learning the bait. So when you throw a bait, especially a new bait, you have to understand the motion of the bait, the speed of retrieve, what it will do when you twitch the tip. And so he threw it in the water, and it's very impressive because obviously he watches my videos. So he was just pop, 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 and he was just looking at the different speeds. This way, when you throw it out there, you know what the bait is doing. It's very, very important. We were fishing for smallmouth bass at Lake of the Woods. We caught, I think we landed 14 or 15 into the boat, and we lost a few coming up to the boat. And so probably a total of, 17 to 20 smallmouth bass. And we had a great time. We really did. It was a beautiful day. A little windy. I almost fell out of my boat because my seat became practically unbolted. I know. So I had to do a little repair, while we were out there. But I didn't fall out of the boat. And we had a really good time out on Lake of the Woods. Lake of the Woods is probably our best fishing hole because you cannot not catch something out there if you're doing it semi-right. And we were using small little hard baits that I painted, little jerk baits and topwater baits, and we were just putting it in, and we sometimes used a very small jig. It'll just catch more and more stuff. So, nobody goes out with me and doesn't catch a fish, so that can't happen. When I started catching, he still hasn't caught one. I was like, okay, we got to switch it up. We got to put something on his line that actually would catch a fish. And I really was appreciative for them to go through all this effort to get me up to the lake. And it was such a friendly atmosphere up there. People hugged me, they missed me. People who live on the lake were happy to see me. A family was visiting somewhere, and I set their rod up to catch fish and told them where to go, and so they subscribed to my channel, and thank you very much. And we took pictures together. Well, they took pictures. I didn't take any pictures. But it was a lot of fun. It was really a great day. Usually I don't go on Saturdays because it's so crowded. But it was really fun to see everybody and to mingle again and see old acquaintances and people that, genuinely, I'm fond of. And so anyway, we caught 3 species, mostly smallmouth bass, and he did catch a perch, and we did catch a few small dinks of largemouths. And we were using smaller baits, so anyway, we had a good time. And most of it was caught between the marina and Aspen, right along that shoreline. Really, that's the best place to catch smallies. All right, this week, now last week we focused a lot on topwater. But this week we're going to focus on fishing soft baits. What is a soft bait? A soft bait is basically, it feels like rubber, but it's a it's called plastisol, and I do make my own. This is a dead-on plastisol, and plastisol, when you actually heat it up to 350 degrees, yeah, you really do, microwave. And then you add coloring to it, you add flakes to it, then you pour it into a mold or inject it into a mold. And these things really can imitate fantastic live bait out there. Now, one of my favorites you can buy in a store is made by Berkeley. It's called Berkeley Power Bait. And this is the Champ Craw. I think that's what it's called, Champ Craw. Anyway, it looks like crawfish. And Power Bait does scent it. It works. That's all I can say is that it works. I'm not much for scent because it just doesn't work for me. Now, you can, even in fresh water, fish a soft bait shrimp. And shrimp work, okay? You could go ahead and use, a shrimp soft bait and run it on the bottom, or even swim it. And we'll talk about techniques and how to hook these up and matching them to a jig head. Now, at first, you don't have to use a jig, but you can use what I enjoy, weighted hooks. Weighted hooks basically give me a Texas rig, if you ever know what a Texas rig is, but technically, that's pretty much what it is. And when I make a bait, I can go ahead and put it on this big old, this hook. It's got a weight on it to keep my fish, orientated just fine in there. And the tip of the point, I can do what's called a skin hook to it. So now I just pull on my bait and I put the tip in there. And that is a completely weedless bait. I could throw it into the lily pads. I could throw it into, any kind of cover, any kind of weed bed, whatever I want. This is a great way of fishing. So, this is I think it was a 6-inch. This is a 6-inch swim bait. So I love painting these. As soon as I mold them, then I can paint them with an oil base bait paint, which doesn't come off. And I could get lots of different coloring, like this one. I put sort of red veins on it, and it kind of looks like a kokanee that is just starting to spawn. So they get into that red. Now, I'm kind of introducing you to the options right now. And then in the second part, we're going to talk about how to fish them, okay? So, just like every week, we have 2 15-minute segments. So for 15-minute, I tell you about all these different things. So that's a weighted hook on a big swim bait, or even a small swim bait. So I like small swim baits too. And I like making them. Then there's Ned rigs, all right? Ned rigs are fantastic. Actually, last weekend, I was using Neds and caught a few fish on them. When I met that family, they didn't catch anything on a spinner, which usually a spinner is a all-purpose. It's just all-purpose. So I gave them some Neds that I made. And Ned rigs use a jig called a mushroom head. Now there's 2 hooks. There's an extra wide gap, and then there's just a straight. So a mushroom head sits on the bottom of the lake, on the head, but straight up. So this actually is one of the easiest ways to get the fish's attention when you're fishing the bottom of the lake. Now, why would you use an extra wide gap? Well, an extra wide gap allows you to skin hook it. And again, making it very, very weedless. So, and as the little worm, a Ned is kind of like a half a Senko. You know, it's a little short guy. Did I not put one in front of me? I didn't put one in front of me. But we'll talk about that later in the next segment. But if you use an extra wide gap and skin hook it, you could toss it anywhere without worrying about the hook catching on debris. And as it sits on the bottom, it will wiggle. It wiggles like a little itty bitty worm. And that little bit of motion is really good for catching and just about anything. To be honest, if they can put their mouth over the hook, you will catch it. Ned rigs are a reliable thing. So if all else fails, you use a Ned, all right? Ned rigs require patience, which most fishermen you would think have patience. No, we don't. A lot of fishermen, especially bass fishermen, don't have patience because we like to work our jigs and our rigs and our baits. We like to be in touch with them at all times. Well, a Ned rig, you throw it out there and you don't touch it. Now, there are what we call skirted jigs. A skirted jig, there's lots of different kinds. There's hinged ones, you know, and there's non-hinged ones, some with weed guards, which are a joke, and some without weed guards, but, you know, they say that whatever. But these right here are very, very nice because they get the skirt gives off the impression of the flashing or the reflection off of scales. So when you do put something on here, you want it to be in the same color range. So the soft plastic has the same color range as the skirt. You want it to look like it's one thing. Does that make sense? So if you've got a white skirt, you're going to put a white bait on there. If you've got sort of a bluegill or a purple, you're going to put like, something that has blues or greens, purples, in the bait. So that's real important because it's got to look like a fish or a bug or something. And the trailer, what we call the trailer, that's the soft plastic we put on it. The trailer has what we call primary motion. And then that primary motion is going to flap the skirt. That's our secondary motion. So our trailer is our primary, and our trailer's our primary, and as it moves, it's going to move the skirt. The skirt creates that sparkly, emotion. And the, scales are shiny. They change with light. That's what the skirt does. So it imitates the image of a scaled creature. So you want to match them. Very important. Do not put a white bait on a dark skirt. You just don't do that. It won't work. All right, so we're going to take a break. Now, in our next segment, we're going to talk about how to fish these things. That's real important. So now you know what they are. You know how to match them. You know why you use different ones. Next, We'll talk about how to use them. So be right back and stay tuned. And thank you for supporting community radio.
The Terrible at Fishing Radio Show. Michael's got the secrets and now you know. Can't lie, you cast just fine. Gold Country Radio.
This is Dave. Dave makes the tastiest burritos in town. But
nobody knows I exist. I'm serving culinary masterpieces to my mom and a raccoon named Dennis.
Then came Jenny.
Dave, have you tried radio?
Radio, isn't that for traffic reports and late-night alien talk?
It's also for thousands of people who don't know you exist.
Huh?
Yet, radio is affordable, reliable, and it works. Not instant burrito fame, but people start showing up kind of results.
So I partnered with Gold Country Radio, and now people know I exist. I've got new customers, catering calls, and Dennis brought a possum. I think they're dating.
I told you. Radio gets your business heard.
Next up, we a second table, maybe indoor seating.
Want to get your business heard? Visit goldcountryradio.org and click Contact to get started. Radio, small budget, big reach, real results.
Out in the backwoods under the stars, I tune in the radio from my old car. Gold Country Radio on a Friday night. Terrible at fishing, but it feels just right.
Welcome back to Terrible at Fishing, everybody. This is take 2. You know, sometimes I start talking and I forget to hit record. That probably never happens to anybody else. But the nice thing is, I mean, I could tell you anything. I said, oh, I just caught a 10-pounder. Oh, I'm sorry you missed it. Sometimes. But I wouldn't do that to you. I'd say it was 9.5. So we talked about different hooks, different jigs, how to match jig skirts. Very important to match the skirt to the soft bait. Now, when I make a bait, the bigger the bait in soft baits, the stiffer I want to make the plastisol. So I don't want this big one to do what, you know, my smaller baits do, because it would flop all over. It wouldn't swim true. So I actually have a stiffer formula that I could do with this. And then smaller baits, I can soften that formula. So when you think about when I make a bait, or you buy one of my baits, I give it a lot of thought. I really do. If you buy one of my swim baits, then you will get not only a beautiful swim bait, but it's hand painted. I mean, because you really can't get, you know, veins and stuff like that by just pouring the plastisol into the mold. I mean, I've tried different variations of techniques, and maybe I'm just not very good, but that paint doesn't come off, so you're good. And then adding the eyes. So a swim bait on a weighted hook. Now these 6-inch swim baits, I use an 8/0 monster, and or not monster, but anyway, 8/0. Beast, monster, beast, whatever. It works. Or my gamakatsus. So I always try to get a gamakatsu, but if not, I go with a beast. But I think these are beast hooks. And and then my 3/0s, those are gamakatsus. So know that I use really good hooks, because a good hook catches fish. Just does. It also catches your finger or leg or your neighbor. So these right here, you're going to skin hook it and throw it anywhere you want. You throw it into the lily pads and drop it down. Drop it down. Let it drop in between the lily pads. Just let it drop, and then move it a little bit in between, in those holes, and then pop it back up. You know, jump it over the lily pads and let it drop again. Get it into a hole and let it drop. Frogs are hard to catch with because you have to have that delay, right? That 1.5 second delay in order for them to close their mouth. This baby, this baby's a hook. Right? These are great. Really, really good. Now, if you were to get one of my smaller ones, my 3 inch, 4 inch, I don't know, I can't remember. These have the same hook except gamakatsu, and you can do the exact same thing with it. Now, Ned rigs. We're going to save Ned rigs towards the end because the Ned is the most reliable out of the bunch. Now, we can go with a skirted jig. And with a skirted jig, it's got all these danglies on it. All right, it's got danglies. And you have to match the trailer, which is what we call it, the trailer, which is a soft plastic, on this. And, you know, here's a green pumpkin trailer, and I got a green pumpkin bandito bug by Google. Now, these are actually kind of long. That's too long for that. It's just too long. You want the trailer to be able to move the skirt. It's called primary action, and this is the secondary action. So what you do is, what I do, I just bite it off. Okay, I just bite the head off and measure it. I want the legs of this to move the skirt. So as I swim this, and you're going to swim these jigs through the water, the trailer is going to, swim. It's going to swim. And as it swims, that's the primary motion, it's going to move the skirt. That's the secondary motion. And between the primary and secondary, it looks like a fish or a bug or something like that. The more it moves, the more it swims. That's why we'll talk a little bit about the dancing bones. But bandito bugs work really, really well too. This right here will catch you fish. And I like to bring them through the water in sort of a, bring them up, let them drop. Bring them up and let them drop. And you could drop it right down to the bottom of the lake or just keep it at any part of the water column. Now, because motion is very, very, very important, what'd I do? Motion is very, very, very important. You want a trailer that has a lot of motion to it. One of the soft baits that I make, which are the reason I bought the mold, because these things are expensive, and I could only afford a single mold, so know that I have to do it over and over and over and over again to make a package for you. But a dancing bone is basically a vertebrae with ribs that stick off of it and a tail on it. And it looks like a skeleton is what it does. But it has so much motion to it, a ton of movement. But because it has this vertebrae, it doesn't really last like something big and wide like a bandito bug. And these things, if you bought them, are $4 or $5 each. I know. So I bought the mold. Because I can't afford $4 or $5 each. The Lake of the Woods does have some of these, couple packages of these in stock. And I do put a hook in there for you. So you can, you have a really good hook, a gamakatsu. So these right here, you're going to swim these, and these things have so much primary motion. The secondary motion, the skirt, goes nuts. So there's a lot of action, and that's why people spend $4 or $5 each for these. Now, mind you, that's not me. Okay, I'm half that. And these things right here work, really work. Just swim these up and down the water column, and dancing bones. I mean, look it up on the internet. Dancing bones soft bait. You'll see how crazy it looks. But I actually make these. I actually have a mold, and I make them. So they're fantastic. Okay, so, oh my goodness. Now, some of these have, weed guards. I don't believe in weed guards. It just doesn't work for me. Maybe I still get it stuck. I still pull up weeds. So, all right. So there is, and I told you in the first segment, Ned rigs. Ned rigs come in two different ways: a straight hook or a wide gap hook. Now, which one do I prefer? All depends where I'm casting it, to be honest. Because with a wide gap, I could skin hook it. And skin hooking it, I can punch it right through a canopy and just let it sit on the bottom. And what it does, it just wiggles. It just wiggles. Now, with this, I do not have a Ned rig mold. I always thought about buying one, but never did. And still, one of those things, because Neds, these aren't very expensive. They're just not expensive. And so, I might want to do it just for me. But with swim baits, I'm just dropping stuff. So swim baits, the swim baits are expensive, and I want to do stuff with it. So that's why I did that. And then I bought the dancing bones because I can't afford $5 of plastic. And I don't think most of you would want to do that either. So and then there's a straight hook. Now, I prefer using straight hooks because it just sits down on the bottom of the lake and it just stays there, okay? If you're confident there's fish around that area, they'll find it, all right? So you just send it down to the bottom and let it sit. This is why a lot of bass fishermen don't do Neds. Because we like to swim our baits. We like to work our baits. We like to do stuff. So, the two most popular ways to catch fish that usually almost always works is a drop shot and a Ned. And you would think, they're the two least expensive ways to catch bass, too. And a Ned rig will catch everything. It'll catch a brown trout, rainbow trout, brook trout, any trout. It'll catch catfish. Because they're bottom feeders. They'll just run across this thing and eat it. They'll catch anything that can put their mouth over it. Any bass, largemouth or smallmouth, striped bass, whatever. This is probably the most affordable and the most effective, yet it is the least used technique out on the lake. Now, that's the good thing. A lot of fishermen do not use Neds. Like last weekend I did, and it worked. And so when I gave my Neds to this one family, which, is again, a custom, it actually is a paddle tail, which I do have a mold for. And it works great because you can just leave it on the bottom or you can swim it through the water column. So the Neds are effective. And what color? It all depends. Now, we've talked about color. So go with dark baits and dark water. Dark baits and dark water. Because the profile is very, very important. Go bright baits, really bright baits, white, chartreuse in clear water. So if you are at Lake of the Woods, that's clear water. If you are, in Upper Klamath, that's not. I mean, that's yucky water. It's really stained. So depending on where you fish, your color choices are very important. So dark colors in dark water, in stained water, milky and just doesn't, you can't see very far. And if you're in a clear water lake, like Lake of the Woods, you can see 12 feet. You're going to use brighter colors. And the reds, the chartreuse, the whites, even purples, like lavender. Lavender works really good at Lake of the Woods. So that's kind of how you choose color. And as for your baits, lighter works best. Lighter works best. Heavier, bigger fish, typically. But usually we throw heaviers through canopies, so punch through it, and bigger baits or bigger hooks for bigger fish. I hope this helps you this week. Thank you for tuning in to Terrible at Fishing. I am recording this, and it will be also posted on my YouTube channel, Terrible at Fishing. And thank you very much for supporting community radio. Take care, everybody, and tight lines. We'll see you out there.
That was Terrible at Fishing, the radio show, with fishing expert Michael Raffino. Check out Terrible at Fishing on YouTube, and tune in next week for the next episode and more great fishing tips. Terrible at Fishing, Fridays at 7 p.m. on Gold Country Radio.